welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I'm joined as always by my good friend Mike Luciano. Mike, it's good to be back, man. It's been a little over a week, actually, since we streamed. This is our first time streaming at a normal time in a couple of weeks. Nice to have a little structure back in our lives after a chaotic week of free agency. A lot has happened. We talked about a lot of it last week, but we're going to talk about more of that today. But first, my friend, how you doing? What's going on?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. There were a couple moves that happened after our initial blitz that we didn't really get to. A Dylan Parham signed. I really like that signing.
I agree 100%. I forgot we didn't get to talk about that. I'm excited to talk about that because that's maybe my favorite move that the Jets made all free agency.
Yeah, and I don't want to go banging on too much about a guy from the vaunted 2025 Raiders offensive line, but I think for what's out there, this is a pretty good signing, especially money-wise. I think they did pretty well. They're still not totally out of the inside interior lineman market in the NFL draft because of that either. Andre Sisco came back for depth on a one-year deal, which I didn't expect, but you could do worse for a backup safety out there. And then there's one big trade they made. We'll get to that pretty soon. And then we'll just talk general free agency, kind of general draft. This can be a very free-form show right here. So feel free to join in the comments. Apple, Twitter, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. And we're on YouTube. So if you want to support the show, we actually have pretty good retention of viewers, especially those that aren't subscribed. But we really want to get that subscriber count up. So if you're watching and you're not subscribed, it would really behoove us if you hit that subscribe button. Just help our metrics here. So, or you could just hype the video if you have the ability to. Liking the stream is also a big help. So that's how you help support the show. So we were just going to go mostly talk about, free agency, the draft, kind of general odds and ends. But one big move happened. Another move that you don't like saying things are a fleece when you just trade a crappy player for a pick that's likely not of any significance. But this is now the second time that the Jets have traded with the Kansas City Chiefs specifically and gotten an asset, as little as it is, for a player they were going to get rid of anyway. They did it with Derek Nottie, and now they did it with Justin Fields, who has been traded to the Kansas City Chiefs for a 6th-round pick, I believe, in the 2027 draft. After 1 year, the Fields experiment ended. And as we said a lot of times watching Fields, it was not to beat him up too much, but it was sad at certain points because you could see a guy who was so mentally paralyzed on the field that they couldn't do anything for stretches. I mean, it's the simplest sort of plays in football. 3-step drop, out route, hit it. Couldn't do it. Holding the ball, patting, looking around. The Fields thing is a testament to the Jets learning the hard way that he's not a great running quarterback. He's a good scrambling quarterback, and you can't build an offense around scrambling. They learned the hard way that the arm, as good as it's always going to be, is never going to be maximized because he just has that slow internal clock that you're really never going to, in my opinion, fix. A lot of the other reclamation projects, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, their big thing was they were a little reckless and they kind of got toned down a little bit, and now they have thrived in Tampa Bay and then Minnesota, Seattle for Darnold. Fields' issue is a little bit bigger than that. I know that going to Andy Reid's probably going to help him. I know that he's not expected to be a long-term starter for Kansas City, but we don't know how long Patrick Mahomes is going to take to get back to full health. He may come back week 1. He may come back week 8. We have no idea. So Justin Fields, in my guess, is probably going to start a couple games for the Chiefs this year. And boy, oh boy, did I get filleted. I wrote a guest column on Arrowhead Addict, our Chiefs site, basically saying, look, you guys, he's going to make some plays that wow you week 1 with the Steelers, but you're going to be the latest team to kind of get suckered in by this because eventually what he really is gets brought to the light. And there were a lot of comments of, it was funny. I remember, I think the exact caption was, they're going to be the latest team to get fooled. And then there was one comment that said, I am not fooled. Justin Fields is going to be, because again, they're taking the thought of, well, we're not expecting him to start over Patrick Mahomes. I didn't say that. If you read the article, you know I didn't say that, but you didn't read it, so whatever. But the Chiefs think for about a month they can tread water with Justin Fields. And Pittsburgh could, Jets could not. I don't think Kansas City will because the Fields I saw last year just look so, not out of it. Out of it's the wrong word, but so incapable of operating NFL offense between the years that he could have all the physical talent in the world. I don't really think it'll matter. I think it's a good job that Darren Muji managed to get something for a guy they were going to cut anyway.
Yeah, as Brian in chat said, Justin Fields not our problem. Not anymore. He's not. He also said Jets Chiefs week 1 revenge game. Feels like that revenge game is going to be Jets Titans at this stage, but you never know. You never know. I guess if the Jets are going to play the Chiefs at any point next season, it'd be nice to do it if, there's a chance Patrick Mahomes is not ready for week 1. Brian said, I wonder if the Jets are the only team that will actively scorn him after his departure. Yeah, you know what? It is interesting because there's still a section of Bears fans that are all over Justin Fields, that are Justin Fields stands and will be Justin Fields stands until they die. And there were Steelers fans.
True or false, Justin? Have you seen some sort of tangentially pro Justin Fields tweet recently that was that long touchdown throw from Ohio State against Clemson? I can't believe you're giving up on this arm talent, or something to that effect.
I have not seen that specifically.
I'm still seeing it.
Yeah.
This is going to be his 6th year in the league with his 4th team.
There will be people that continue to go to bat for Fields. And I'll say this too, like as much as I'm a little confused at this move by Kansas City, I'll say that to start, but I see a world where he should be better with the Chiefs than he was with the Jets. I do think a lot of his issues last year were mental. I think he was out of it at a certain point in the year and was, as you said, mentally paralyzed. Like that was a good way to describe how he looked on the field. Like he was scared to do anything. And he's had issues like that throughout his career, but never to that extent and never for that extended period of a time. Like it was just, again, it was half of his starts he threw for under 50 passing yards. I don't know what
50, not 150.
You can't function as an NFL quarterback like that. And I think
they almost won 2 of those games.
He did. And I think he's better than that. He's better than what we saw last year, but it's hard for me to rely on a guy who just did that and prioritize him as my QB2 of choice in 2026, especially with a quarterback coming off a torn ACL. So even ignoring like the direct, whatever, they gave up a 6th round pick. That's insignificant. They're getting him for very cheap. They're getting him for, I think, around $3 million. They're paying him extremely cheap.
And as we've noted, the backup quarterback market, not particularly fertile right now.
So I get it. I just don't understand prioritizing Fields as that backup quarterback. Like I think you should probably get somebody who you feel a little more confident in, but clearly they feel confident enough in him being the backup to Mahomes. So I get it. I understand why you were filleted for that, Mike, because the discourse surrounding, we talked about this a little bit, when the Geno trade went down, like the discourse when that trade happened, man, we were fighting for our lives in our NFL Slack.
The Jets got more crap for Geno than the Chiefs did for Fields.
Way more. Way more. Because Geno Smith is I would argue, a significantly better quarterback than Justin Fields, even given what we saw from Geno last year. Once again, just like I said about Fields, I think Geno is better than what we saw with the Raiders last season. He's a better quarterback. They gave up less to get him, and he's going to be their starter. Like, and there was going to be, I would assume there would have been a bigger market for a vet minimum Geno Smith on the open market than whatever market Justin Fields was going to get had he been released by the Jets.
Without question.
Right. So it's just
Kyler hadn't gone to Minnesota yet. Yeah. Like Pittsburgh was still up there. Like Geno would have had options.
It's wild to see the discourse surrounding those two trades. But again, the Jets don't get the benefit of the doubt. The Chiefs always will. I don't even think it's necessarily a terrible move on Kansas City's part. I don't think that would be the quarterback two that I would have prioritized, but I get it. From the Jets perspective, though, because we're a Jets podcast. Let's talk about that. Man,
we have to.
Unfortunately, we do, Mike. Man, I mean, I didn't even consider the possibility that the Jets would be able to get something for Justin Fields. I'll be completely honest. I was not assuming or expecting any scenario where they could trade him. So the fact that they were able to trade him and get a 6th, which, it's not a lot, but it's better than a 7th. It's better than a swap of 6th and 7th round picks. Like a 6th round pick is not nothing, and save a little extra money. I believe they saved $3 million. And had they had just released him, they essentially offset the cost that it took to acquire Geno Smith. They're paying Geno essentially what they saved by trading Fields. And they even got more draft capital because the Fields thing was a 6th round pick, whereas Geno was a 6th and a 7th pick swap. So they got more draft capital, basically are paying nothing because they saved the same money that they'd be, paying Geno. It's a really smart piece of business by Darren Muji, who, Jets Twitter has kind of gotten a little too much on the Muji bandwagon. It's very easy to do that in March, right, with general managers. But I do think a lot of what Darren Muji has done this offseason has been very smart, calculated business decisions. And even dating back to, we could trace it back to the Harrison Phillips and Juwan Briggs trades. I think since those trades, Darren Muji's done a really, really good job. And I feel very confident with the moves that he's made. Will it result in wins? We don't know. It's possible Geno's cooked. It's possible the quarterback sucks. And if they don't have a quarterback, they're not going to win a lot of games. It's also possible the coaching staff sucks. We still don't have a full, judgment on that. But I like a lot of what Muji's done. And this is just the latest line or latest step in another, the latest move in a series of moves that I very much like.
What did the Jets get anything for Zach Wilson from the Broncos?
Yeah. Yes, they did. It was not much, but it was some sort of day 3 pick. Or pick swap.
I want to compare the two for a
second.
It
was a 6 and a 7 swap. So they gave up pick 256 and they got 203. So they actually moved up a good amount of picks there.
So obviously cost more in that regard.
Yeah. Those picks, by the way, they ended up getting traded to the Vikings. The Vikings used that to pick their kicker, Will Reichard. I believe they pronounced the last name.
It could have been a Nick Folk replacement.
Could have been.
But it had amazing. Like, again, I've always said, even after this year, I get Justin Fields stands more than Zach Wilson stands because Justin Fields, at least, number one, he's physically better and is at least at points given you something.
He's shown a lot more.
Zach Wilson never showed you really anything ever. And I think, honestly, if the 2022 class was not just dog water, that he probably would have been Josh Rosen. I think there's a chance.
Maybe.
If the 2023 class happened in 2022, I think they probably...
There's also a difference, though, between taking a guy 2nd overall and what was Rosen, 9th? 10th? There is a difference there. Like, I know it's not a massive difference, but it does. When you take a guy 2nd overall, they
would have thought about it, though.
It's so hard to move on after 1 year in that situation.
They would have been a conversation.
Maybe. If they had, like, the 1st or 2nd overall pick again.
What year did they have? They had 4 that year. If they had 4...
Yeah. Yeah, they had 4, just a bad quarterback class, like you mentioned. But I think they ended up happy with the draft that they got, even if only 2 of those guys are still, or 2 of the top picks are still on the roster.
Of all the guys that are still, like Max Mitchell outlasts Sauce Gardner and Jermaine Johnson.
Yep.
Who would have thought? And Michael Clemens signed, by the way, with the Colts.
And
3-year deal they gave him, wow.
I'm not shocked by that. I expected him to get a decent contract. I think NFL teams just value his physical traits in terms of like him being very strong, and they value the experience. They see him as an experienced guy who's started quite a bit of games and a very respected defensive mind, and Robert Saleh swears by him. It is kind of funny that Saleh's getting the band back together in Tennessee and all these former Jets are going there.
I checked, by the way, 17 former either Jets or Giants between the coaching staff and the roster.
Incredible.
Because it's all the Giants offensive coaches. It's all the Jets defensive coaches.
Yeah,
it's the Giants offensive player, Wandale and Daniel Bellinger, and then the Jets defensive players are Franklin Myers and Tony Adams and Jermaine Johnson.
And that's not including Robert Saleh's cousin, who is an assistant coach, and Mike Rutenberg, who is not Mike Rutenberg, Mike Borgonzi's brother, Dave Borgonzi, who is the linebackers coach.
By the way, if he didn't retire, he assuredly would have tried to trade for Bryce Huff.
Oh, yeah, dude. I think I tweeted it out. And then an hour later, which, by the way, that's what a wild thing that is, that he's retiring for. Well, it was to what was it, something with lithium batteries or some shit like that?
I think the company is.
Yeah, it's like helping with build safety precautions or infrastructure for lithium batteries.
I'm gonna be honest, he didn't give us a lot to go on. In that
I was confused. Statement. It was kind of I was watching the video and he kind of just dropped that at the end, and I was like,
if he couldn't even explain what he's doing, I don't know if.
Hey, good for Bryce.
I don't know if I'm going to see him on Shark Tank anytime soon.
What a wild career trajectory he's had the last 2.5-3 years, right? Yeah. What a weird.
Hassan Reddick changed that guy's whole life.
I know.
Inadvertently.
But overall,
Brian Glick called them the New York Titans.
And he also said the Moogician. I kind of like that. The tweet that I sent out had the I don't even know who made this first Photoshop image, but it's of Muji and Glenn like cooking. They're like wearing chefs outfits.
I think there's some AI in that too.
Oh, is that AI? Oh, I didn't even know it was AI.
I just assume that Photoshop-y stuff like that on Twitter is AI.
Yeah.
AI kind of killed the Twitter Photoshop genre. Like it killed that guy's whole industry.
There's a whole broader conversation about this, but I feel like there is a charm to clearly human-made like shit posting that AI just can't replicate.
Oh yeah, well again, AI can't shit post unless a human tells it what a shit post is.
Yes.
And at that point, the human's doing it itself. So
overall, Mike, what were your thoughts on Jets free agency though? Right, like coming out of free agency now, do you feel better about this roster? Do you feel better about the direction of the organization? Where are you at?
Well, here's the thing. I mentioned before that Joe Douglas is, I think, retroactively been proven to be kind of a worse GM than we thought because of all the bad contracts that didn't seem bad at the time.
Yeah.
But what killed him was he did a lot of things like Muji, where he made some nice moves around the margins, had a couple okay drafts, but then never got offensive line until year 6 and never got a quarterback ever. And then that ultimately killed him. Muji has the offensive line. He may not get quarterback and that may kill him, but it's hard to really find fault with a lot of the contracts he's given out. Even if, and honestly, I don't want to give a guy who hasn't built a winning roster yet the benefit of the doubt, but what did we say last year? Other than the inaction being our biggest criticism, the inaction at, wide receiver or just all the 1 year stopgap J Tufele guys at defensive tackle, our big criticism contract was the Brandon Stevens contract. And that one actually turned out pretty good, especially value-wise. Some of these cornerbacks are getting per year. I think that's your number one corner on 12 million a year is pretty good value.
Now, he's not a number one caliber corner, but he's a rocks. I think he's a solid number 2, or at least he was last year. And getting that at 12 million, that's a good deal. Like that's a perfectly fine deal.
The only contract where I looked at it and I said, AAV wise, that's probably a little more than I would have paid. DeMario Davis, but he brings so much else.
Yeah,
leadership wise, I have no problem with that deal. The only contract that I was a little bit like, I could see how this doesn't work out great, was Joseph Osai. A 3-year deal for a guy who's been kind of on again, off again starter. The Bengals defense was notoriously not particularly good, and he played a hand in that. But there is a vision with Osai. I think especially if, I know there's some David Bailey debates. I would say probably right now it's 70%. It's Arvell Reese at 2. I think is going to be.
Seems fair. Yeah.
It seems like Reese is the favorite, and Bailey could pass him later, but right now it seems like it's Reese. If they take Reese, then I think they really made an emphasis on stopping the run with Osai, who's okay at stopping the run, and on Yamada and all these other guys.
And
Igbare. Right. I could see how it works out. I just need to have Osai. He needs to be a little bit more than as a pass rusher than what he was in Cincinnati. I can't get 5 sacks out of Joseph Osai and think that contract's going to age well.
But even the thing with that is it's effectively a 2-year deal. Like they can get out of it after 2 years. They did not make a lot of long-term financial commitments, really any long-term financial commitments in free agency. The biggest long-term financial commitment they made was Minkah Fitzpatrick, and that was a trade. And they gave him 3 years, $40 million, which
I just don't like the idea of being like, well, they can get out of this if it sucks. Like if you're already looking at the exit strategy.
Well, I'm not saying that it's going to suck, but I'm saying that the risk is mitigated if you have an escape plan, right? Like if you're not tied to 4 years for a player, 3 years for a player, and there's not as many, how much guaranteed money is on his deal? $22.49 million. That's not crazy.
Muji is not giving out, I think, a 4-year contract to an external free agent.
No, he is not. So. No, I don't think was Sherwood's deal. No, Sherwood was 3 years.
Sauce and Garrett got 4
Sauce and Garrett are the only 2 players that he's given more than a 3 year.
And then Sauce he got rid of, so.
Immediately got rid of, yeah. But no, I think Osai, and I totally get where you're coming from with that. I still think he's the type of player you give that contract to. Like he is a 26-year-old. I believe he just recently had turned.
I think he will be 26 when the season starts.
Yeah,
and he actually missed a year, so
yeah,
his rookie year he missed all of it. So
26-year-old player who's never been a full-time player to my knowledge in Cincinnati, was not a full-time player who you project can be better in your scheme, fits what you're looking for as an edge rusher. Kind of a different type of player to Jermaine Johnson, more of like. I don't know. He's got the background as the off-ball linebacker there. Like he feels like a different type of player than Jermaine Johnson. I think that's still a player that you want to take a chance on. Like as we've talked about this last couple of weeks in free agency, you don't want to be a team. I know it's just worked out for the Patriots, but you normally don't want to be a team like the Patriots that spends a lot of money on Milton Williams, on Robert Spillane, on all the other guy, Harold Landry, all the guys that they signed last offseason. Generally,
the Patriots just hit. They got an MVP quarterback and hit on all of them in one offseason. Yes. That doesn't happen all the time.
You hit on all your free agents. You had a young MVP candidate quarterback on a rookie contract. You're able to do that when that's the only scenario.
Makes GMing a lot easier when you get that.
It does. But generally, you want to look for guys who are young ascending players who can fill gaps in your roster and you could project to be better with you. Think of like the John Simpson signing, right? They got him, young player coming off a career year with Baltimore, wasn't super highly valued by NFL teams because He was bad with the Raiders. He was quite bad with them. Went to the Ravens, had a solid season as part of a good offensive line. Jets sign him. They think they can get better out of him, and they absolutely did. And he was arguably their best lineman in 2024. He was great in 2024. Took a step back last season, but I would absolutely say overall that was a successful signing. I think if you look at moves like Dylan Parham, like Joseph Osai, like you're projecting similar from them. Even guys like Nashawn Wright, who are on 1-year deals, like really good value signing there.
That might be in terms of value. I mean, I know some people were talking about, like, I don't remember Rasheed Walker was going to get $20 million a year. He signed $4 million with Carolina, but like people were, I know he gives up a lot in coverage. He's very risky like that, but getting a guy who was a Pro Bowler and had 5 picks last year to get that for backup cornerback money.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw some projections. It was like 3 years, like the Stevens contract pretty much. And they got him for half that on 1 year.
I'll say this right now. I don't think it's crazy to think that he starts next year as cornerback 2 over Azaria Thomas. I also don't think it's crazy to say Dane Belton starts over Malachi Moore. I think those are going to be both legitimate camp battles, and the better player is going to win. I don't think there's, I don't think either Azaria Thomas or Malachi Moore are absolutely locked into starting jobs, because I don't think they showed enough as rookies. They weren't, in Azaria Thomas's chance, just wasn't given enough time to show that he can be a starter. He only started what, 4 games?
5 or 6, I think.
5 games. Like, he was not starting early in the year. Then he got the chance, and then he got hurt. Malachi Moore, I think, was a bad starting safety last year, which as a 4th-round rookie, fine. Like
end of the 4th round too.
Yeah, you hope he can get better, but I certainly don't think he should be locked into a starting role. But yeah, you want to target players like that are young ascending guys. And you also want to target, as Brian said in chat, an influx of high character humans and leaders for each level of defense. A smart plan. It absolutely is. You're bringing in guys like David Onyemata, like Demario Davis, who have not only familiarity with Aaron Glenn, and Minka Fitzpatrick as well, who has familiarity with Carl Dunbar, and guys who you trust and Aaron Glenn can lean on, because I know people keep saying this phrase, but they needed adults in the room, right? Last year, they wanted Jamie Sherwood to be the alpha dog on defense.
And he made a 6-7 joke in a pregame huddle, and then that killed everything.
I don't even remember when he did that.
Yeah, it was like near the end of the year. I'm like, okay, it was like Jameis eat the W.
Oh, I do remember that now.
Yeah,
I remember that going viral and people being like, "Oh, this is the Jets," and I'm like, "Well, they're doing it to themselves now." But I think
I think they were the youngest team in the league outside of the Packers. And they went too young last year.
Oh, hello. The Panthers are trading Andy Dalton to the Eagles. Well,
there goes the backup quarterback.
I was going to say, if we were to talk about backup quarterback options, there goes one. That's interesting. The Jets were, of course, tied to him. It's in exchange for a 2027 7th-round pick. So Jets obviously could have done that if they wanted to.
I'd imagine they probably will still keep Tanner McKee and Andy Dalton as QB3 now, because they lost Sam Howell.
That is interesting. I wonder if that makes McKee more available. Probably not. But
I don't think it does.
I would assume it doesn't. But worth making a call if you're the Jets.
You got to check in.
Yeah, worth making a call.
Trade with everybody. Why not?
I think my immediate thought is, wouldn't be shocked if Tyrod came back. That's my immediate thought right now.
Allegedly, he is beloved in the locker room. So.
He is. And I believe the two sides have kept in touch. I think Tyrod would be open to a return. And it sounds like Carson Wentz isn't happening if, we're reading the tea leaves here. So
I'm going to be honest, though, with Carson Wentz. And this is, I'm normally not like as much of a Woody conspiracy. He obviously sucks, but like I'm not as much of like a Woody conspiracy guy.
Mm.
Remember the whole, he read a Michael Nania article and demanded Tony Adams be benched? Doesn't that sound like, hey, Twitter really doesn't like Carson Wentz, don't bring him in? And then they go, okay, I won't bring him in. Like, if you are of the belief Carson Wentz is your best backup quarterback option, bring him in. You're going to get fired if you stink this year anyway. Bring him in. Don't let Woody make your mistakes. Don't make somebody else's mistakes. Don't let Woody Johnson decide who the backup quarterback's going to be.
The reporting that we've seen, and this is not meant to discredit any reporting, but I know it's Connor Hughes. He kind of gives the Jets perspective of things a lot. So you always got to take that with a grain of salt. You got to remember that it's coming from the Jets a lot of times. He was basically like, well, look, I said, Wentz had other options out there, and it sounds like he's exploring those options. I wonder how much of that, right? Well, what it sounds like, what's been floated is he might return to Minnesota as QE3. And my question for that would be, why would he do that if he has an opportunity to be backup quarterback with the Jets? Like, I feel like
with a coach he knows.
Yeah, with a coach he's very familiar with, unless there's some rift there that we don't know about. Everyone has said that there isn't, right? If he has an opportunity to be backup quarterback behind Geno Smith, who's far from like a locked in, definite starter who's definitely not going to get benched, feel like that's a better opportunity than going to Minnesota where you're QB3 behind a guy they just signed in Kyler Murray, who's a bit more reputable still at this stage than Geno Smith, and a guy in JJ McCarthy, who at least Minnesota publicly is saying that they want to continue to develop him.
Okay.
I feel like Wentz would probably prefer the Jets in that situation. So if he does end up going back to Minnesota, that would tell me the Jets probably just don't want him. They soured on him for whatever reason. Obviously, we know Frank Reich probably wants him. So that was either Aaron Glenn or, like you mentioned, it could be a Woody thing. I don't want to, assign that. I'm not going to say that it's a Woody thing and whatnot, but it does feel like the Jets have made a lot of popular moves this offseason, which I guess they also did a couple of years ago.
They were popular until the Jets did them. Now they're bad tanking moves.
Well, popular among the fan base is what I mean. Popular among Jets fans. Like I feel like Jets fans have been very happy with this offseason. And if you rewind to the offseason that Woody kind of went nuts, right? Mike Williams, what was the other big
Tyron
Smith,
Reddick.
Those were two guys. Reddick less so because that wasn't really talked about beforehand, but Williams and Tyron Smith were very talked about names amongst Jets fans. I remember I literally had a tweet that was like, if the Jets sign both of these guys, like they sign Mike Williams and Tyron Smith, I will do diabolical things or something like that. Aged very poorly, but I remember then that Athletic article came out. It was like, yeah, Woody Johnson was influenced by Twitter, by social media, by fans saying they wanted Mike Williams and Tyron Smith. And I was like, oh, there were a lot of fans that said that. So not to say that that's what's happening now, because
you got Joe Douglas fired. You feel good about yourself?
No, but listen, it's more Brick's fault than me, I think.
Blame the kid. Okay.
He's an adult now, isn't he? He's in college now.
I don't know nor care.
I think he's on the lacrosse team for some Ivy League school. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Surely based on ability. Brian Glick, do you fellas think the early free agent signings are reflective of AG selling his vision well? Aren't players excited to play for him? I don't see any Jets tax signings so far. I think that this offseason proved, and look, we don't know if great leader or great defensive mind or nice guy will translate to good head coach, but even amid the losing, like, guys still love playing for certain coaches. Like, you saw how eager those Jets guys were to go to Tennessee when Robert Saleh got that job. They all really like playing for him. Aaron Glenn, everybody who's played for him or coached alongside him has nothing but amazing things to say. Sean Payton, Dan Campbell, all these guys. I mean, look at David Onyemata, things he has to say about Aaron Glenn. That's like a deeper than football, you changed my life kind of thing. So I think Aaron Glenn is good on selling his vision to people. And I think when people get around Aaron Glenn, he's good at getting people to buy in. Now, he may not have the quarterback to execute every part of his vision. That may get him fired in New York. But I think he seems like a great hang. He seems like a guy that knows how to coach certain players. He seems like somebody that is a great salesman. Now, is he going to sell a vision that works? I don't know. But it seems like he is signing guys who know how he wants to play. So, yes, I do agree with you, Brian, there. There aren't really any Jets, maybe DeMario Davis, but again, a Glenn connection, and there's so much off the field that DeMario Davis does for you that's probably where that extra money came from, as opposed to paying Alex Anzalone a couple $1 million less.
Jason Candell, our Falcons expert over at Blog and Dirty, said David Onyemata's a beast. You guys will love him. I hope so. I'm definitely happy with that signing. I agree with what you said, Mike. Honestly, it feels like a lot of Glenn's shortcomings his first season. They weren't motivation. They weren't getting the players to buy in, because the players seem to unanimously love Aaron Glenn. And that's
didn't he get like an A or something in that survey?
He was one of the highest graded head coaches in that player survey, which obviously isn't the end all be all, but he's extremely respected around the NFL and in that Jets locker room. So he's got the buy-in from the players. He is able to sell the players
more so than the fans. The players knew what was up.
Yeah.
Last year.
I think a lot of his shortcomings, especially the ones that we've tended to harp on, right, that the media's harped on, that fans have harped on, have been some of his handling of press conferences, of media. I think his verbiage has often been a little too combative and just setting himself up to fail, honestly. Like, I think he made life harder for himself as his first year than he needed to. I think some of his game planning and game management stuff early in the year was a problem. And I think there was a bit of a rift between him and Steve Wilkes as far as their scheme and as far as the identity of the defense. And I just don't think that they clearly didn't end up seeing eye to eye. And Wilkes didn't end up seeing eye to eye with a lot of the players too, which is part of the reason that he was fired.
Looking back on it, we should have given that more. I know there was an experienced DC. We were happy for that. And again, hindsight's always 2020. But looking back on that, for how Aaron Glenn likes playing defense and how Steve Wilkes likes playing defense,
it's very different.
They're completely different. And honestly, it felt like there were times where how he wanted the offense to run, how Tanner Engstrom wanted the offense to run, were different. It felt like one guy wanted Justin Fields and one didn't. Now it feels like, even though they got there in a very chaotic way, it feels like everybody's more aligned this year.
I agree with that. I'm hesitant still about the offensive coaching staff just because I'm very hesitant about Frank Reich in the year 2026, but I feel a lot better about the defensive coaching staff. I feel really good. Honestly, underrated. Carl Dunbar getting brought in is huge.
Oh, I don't know how the hell they pulled that off.
Aaron Glenn has a lot of pull, and he is very well respected around the league by certain players and coaches. And Carl Dunbar clearly bought into Aaron Glenn's vision, even though he's very well seen as a lame duck coach by a lot of people, I think in media and fans and probably people around the league. Carl Dunbar, who has, been one of the better defensive line coaches in the NFL for a while, of course, was with the Jets, then spent a long time under Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. He felt comfortable joining Glenn's staff. I feel good about the current defensive staff. Now, just because players are bought into the vision and bought in on Aaron Glenn as a man, as a person, and as a leader, doesn't mean that he's going to be a good head coach by default. As Candell said in chat, Raheem Morris was always highly graded. Take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, I don't think just because the players love you,
the Jets would be thrilled if they got Raheem Morris level records.
For sure.
Out of their coaching staff. They can't even get that half the time.
Ultimately, Glenn needs to prove what he proved to a degree in Detroit, in that he can elevate players with his scheme or with his, whatever his vision is for the defense, right?
It just takes a year.
And sometimes it does take time. And obviously, look, in a league like the NFL, job security is so scarce that people don't have patience for this. And I'm not saying that this is not meant to be like a Glenn apologist take, because I'm very hesitant that he is head coach for the Jets in 2027. I think a lot of that is just because of the quarterback situation. I don't trust that the Jets are going to be a good team next year, despite the fact that I've liked a lot of their moves this offseason. But he needs to prove that he can elevate the defense. He needs to be able to prove that he can elevate the defense with his scheme, because that's, like, again, for as much as he might be this leader of men type that they wanted, right? The CEO type. You need to be able to win schematically in the NFL in 2026. You have to. Like, the best coaches are the ones that win schematically. Even Dan Campbell wins schematically, for as much as, he's this grandiose personality who, is able to command a room. Like, the Lions win because they're a very well-coached team, and he's a good coach. He's a good offensive play caller. Aaron Glenn needs to show that he can do that now that he's running the defense in 2026. And I feel moderately confident that he can, because he was able to do that in Detroit, even if it took him a couple of years to get there. We'll see. TBD about the offense. We'll see.
I think having a younger guy like Brian Duker will help, because I think sometimes older coaches can get a little stuck in their ways. And obviously Glenn's going to be calling the plays, but Duker's not just going to be getting coffee. Like, I think he's going to be, hey, let's try this. Hey, let's try that. Yeah. I'll implement it. Obviously, they both have backgrounds in defensive back play. Like, I think the Duker hire, the more the offseason's gone on, the more I start liking it a little bit more. Again, Reich, I'm not doing backflip for Reich, but if the clearly stated objective was get a veteran offensive coordinator with experience,
right? I
think Frank Reich as an OC is a better hire, even at the time, than probably Steve Wilkes as a DC.
And I don't want to be too optimistic here, because let me be clear, man. If this works out, this would be an extreme anomaly. If the Jets were a disaster in Aaron Glenn's first year, right? Some of it was, tanking the last month of the season.
A lot of it was tanking the last month. They just gave up.
Right, for sure. But they were a disaster. They fired basically their entire coaching staff. They changed their vision. And by they, I mean, Glenn changed his vision, likely from ownership interference overnight, right? Where they fired their OC that they didn't plan to fire. They brought in a guy who was about to retire as their offensive coordinator. Then on defense, they interviewed 8 coordinators, didn't hire any of them, and then overnight hired a different guy that they didn't even have on a radar.
They interviewed him like an hour before they hired him.
That's a mess. If that works, that's an anomaly. And that's a crazy anomaly that I've not really seen before in the NFL. So I don't want to be too optimistic about the direction, but we can sell ourselves on some of this stuff. And I do think I feel better about the defensive coaching staff right now than I did last year. And I feel better about the roster than I did last year. TBD about the offensive coaching staff, TBD about the quarterback, because it's possible Geno Smith just sucks. But we'll see, man. There is some stuff to like.
Ryan Glick says when it works out, not if. I like that mindset.
This March is one of the only 2 months of the year that Jets fans are optimistic. Well, one of the only few months, because that carries over into April and generally May and June and July, and then the pessimism starts to set in once the season ends up starting in September. But
all you can ask for this time of the year is the team improved.
Yeah,
they're an improved team right now.
Now I want to transition here because
really quick though. One last thing I want to pick your brain on before we get into draft stuff.
Well, I was going to say another thing first, but go on. What you're going to say.
What do you make of the lack of wide receiver additions?
I'm glad you brought that up because
I'm not talking about I don't think they're going to get Jawan Jennings. I don't think they're going to get Deebo Samuel. If they watch, they're going to sign him 5 minutes from now. But I would have at least expected, because again, I really believe. Look, Breece Hall's a good receiving back. He's probably going to have 60 catches this year, so he's going to be probably your third passing game option. I believe strongly that Mason Taylor is going to have a lot better of a year too. You still have Garrett Wilson. You still have Adonai Mitchell. That alone is not great, but that's not bad as far as pass catchers go, especially if Taylor hits. I was expecting maybe I know this guy signed. I know this guy's not particularly good, but a guy like a Diami Brown, a veteran who's been around, 1 year deal, $5 million or something like that.
What did
just to get a depth piece in there, and then you go into the draft. And they haven't really added anybody. Wide receiver 3 right now is Isaiah Williams.
Did Diami Brown sign?
Yeah, with Washington. He went back.
What did he sign for? 1 year?
1 year vetman,
Oh, it's nothing. Thing. Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought this up because I was going to bring this up because Nick Westbrook-Ikhine just signed with the Colts. And as crazy it is to say,
Colts have had a weird offseason, man.
They also signed Keem Davis-Gaither. So they're just signing a bunch of
hyphenated names.
Yeah, all the hyphenated guys.
They were pissed that John Franklin Myers went to the Titans.
I was going to say, is Sebastian Joseph Day a free agent right now?
He just signed recently, I think.
With the Colts? That would have been great if he did.
No, please. I know he signed. Oh, with the Steelers.
Gotcha. But yeah, I feel like Westbrook-Ikhine would have been one of the better realistic options on the market. Now, look, I never expected or even wanted the Jets to be active in the wide receiver market and free agency. That is the one market, I think, at any position, maybe outside of quarterback, that has just gone completely bonkers and completely ridiculous. And I think
Alec Pierce got $29 million.
We will see a correction at some point. I think we've started to see a bit of a correction with offensive line. Last year, Robert Hunt, was it last year that Hunt got that insane deal? Yeah, where he got $20 million a year. $20 million a year for Robert Hunt, right? I think we've seen a little bit of a correction with that. Look at the Dylan Parham signing with the Jets.
Have we? Linderbaum?
Well, Linderbaum's a separate situation, I think, where it's just this guy is so clearly a top 2 or 3 center in football. Robert Hunt, I don't even think he's a top 10 guard in football, and he got $20 million a year. But Dylan Parham, 4-year starter, 26 years old, you'd think he'd get, in this market, $15 million a year, $14 million a year. That doesn't seem crazy to me. Jets got him for 2 years, $16 million with no guarantees after year 1. That's crazy. Rasheed Walker, people thought he'd get $20 million, got 1 year, $4 million. So I think there's been a bit of a correction in that market.
His agent, man, is
I know. Well,
he's putting him in a swirly right now.
There's a couple of signings that I don't think follow that trend. This is more of I'll get into wide receiver in a second, but really quick tangent. Zion Johnson, who was somebody that we had mentioned as a target for the Jets, and I believe had been mentioned. I think Zach Rosenblatt said the Jets were looking at him. You know what he signed for, Mike? Do you remember seeing his contract?
Was it $49 million or $50 million?
3 years, $50 million. He's getting $17 million a year. I don't think Zion Johnson is better than Dylan Parham. I think they're basically
Daniel Popper for the Athletic, their Chargers guy, said some teams may have been looking at $20 million for Zion Johnson.
Unbelievable. I think they're in the same tier of player. They're both 26. They've both started 4 years in the NFL. They have not the PFF grades or everything. Their PFF grades are very similar. In fact, Parham's are better. I don't see any world where Zion Johnson should get $17 million a year and Dylan Parham gets $8 million a year with no guarantees after.
And I think Parham's played center too. He's moved around.
Yes. Wild to me. Right. So I think the O-line market mostly corrected, but then there were some outliers like that Zion Johnson deal where I was like, this is just ridiculous. But as far as wide receiver goes, yeah, I didn't want the Jets to be active in that market just because the contracts are ridiculous. And, that's a position where we've talked about this for a while. They're clearly going to target that in the draft. That said, right now, your wide receiver room is Garrett Wilson, Adonai Mitchell, and then fuck all. Isaiah Williams, Arian Smith. That is your wide receiver room right now. Isaiah Williams maybe is fine as a complimentary 5th wide receiver who's also your return man. Arian Smith, I don't think he's going to be on the roster week 1, or at least I don't think he should be.
I think he might be. I mean, if they keep,
he might be,
because I really don't think. I think they should. get a receiver with one of the first 4 picks and then like a day 3 guy. But if
I
they
agree.
don't, I think Arian Smith's on the roster.
I still think they should make 2 to 3 wide receiver additions. And I think one of those comes in late stage free agency, whoever it is, right? A name that I was looking at the free agents right now, a name that I've thrown out there. It's low hanging fruit, but Tim Patrick is out there. Tim Patrick would be your Josh Reynolds signing, right? Where it's like, but hopefully
he's not wide receiver 2.
Right. Hopefully this time you don't sign him to be wide receiver 2. You sign him to be wide receiver 4, and that's fine. And you draft your wide receiver 2 with one of those top picks, and you go into 2026 and you're like, okay, Garrett Wilson, Jordan Tyson, or Mekhi Lemon, or even if you miss on the top 3 guys, right? Omar Cooper, Denzel Boston, Jeremy Bernard, whoever, right? Somebody else in that next tier of receivers, Casey Concepcion, whatever. Somebody else like that competing with Adonai Mitchell for wide receiver 2, I think is at least acceptable. I'm much happier if you get one of the top 3 guys, Tate, Lemon, or Tyson, because I think all 3 of those guys have wide receiver 1 potential in the NFL. I don't know about that for anyone else in this class, but I think
I could see Boston in the right situation.
Maybe he feels more like a ceiling is like a Cortland Sutton type, where it's like he can be a wide receiver 1, but it's like a low end 1. So if you want to say that,
or Jalen Waddle, who I don't love that trade for the Broncos, but
they gave up a lot.
That's a lot for Jalen Waddle.
They did. Miami is going to be so bad next year, dude. Miami is going to be awful.
Those two, we got 2 Jets-Dolphins games. What?
There was some discourse online that the Jets have the worst wide receiver room in the NFL, and I'm like, are you high? Like, what are we looking? Can we look at what the Tutu Atwell is the number 1 receiver in Miami right now, and that's
Adonai Mitchell would be number 1 running away in Miami.
Yes, and that's obviously not going to like Miami's going to draft a receiver. They probably might draft 2 wide receivers. But right now, Tutu Atwell is wide receiver 1 in Miami. But yeah, I would like, and I think I think the Jets will add some veteran, right? They let John Mechie go. They had some interest in bringing him back just on a,
I was a little surprised at that.
Mildly surprised. They had some interest in bringing him back, not on, the RFA tender.
Really quick, Brian Glick is now a member.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much, Brian.
Shout out, Brian.
Buddy. Very much appreciated, dude. Yeah, they had some interest in bringing back John Mechie. Clearly didn't do that. So now they have what? How many receivers they even have under contract right now? Is it so they
Isaiah Williams 3, Arian Smith 4, and then was it just all the guys from the depth last year?
It's Quentin Skinner, it's Jamal Pritchett, it's Irv Charles who's still around, and then Mac Delana, who's a guy they signed, I believe a CFL guy that they brought in from Fresno State.
No, you made that up.
He's there. He's on.
You made Mac Delana.
Mac Delana. They signed him to a futures deal.
Mac Delana.
MACDALENA, I think. They signed him a futures deal.
No, I'm not buying into it. You're not going to convince me.
If he's still on the roster come August, you're going to see him out there in the fourth quarter of the preseason. But he'll be out there. He's
such a good player that he doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
No, he does not.
And he's on the New York Jets currently.
He is the only player. I'm looking at their template on their Wikipedia right now. He's the only player on their entire roster who does not have a Wikipedia page. So that's fun. But hey, look,
we have no proof.
We gotta start somewhere. I remember there's a random tangent here. I remember when the Jets first signed Robbie Anderson as an undrafted player. He didn't have a Wikipedia page. I remember that. And look at him now. Well, maybe not now. Look at him. Maybe not now. Look at him 5 years ago. He was
look at Chosen now.
Look at Robbie Chosen. He's doing okay.
I like how he couldn't decide. He's like, I don't know if I want this to be my last name or my first name. I don't think anybody else has ever had that problem.
That's right. Is he Chosen Anderson now?
I don't know. I think he's Robbie Chosen.
Is he back to Robbie Chosen? Because he was Chosen Anderson.
Yeah, he's Robbie Chosen now.
Okay, so he went from Robbie Anderson to Robbie with an IE, then to Chosen Anderson, then to Robbie Chosen.
And then to Meta World Peace, and now he's back to Robbie Anderson.
Hey, man.
He changed his name again, by the way. He's
he did?
He's now Meta Sandiford Artest.
Oh, I thought you meant Robbie.
So yeah, so he combined, because I think his girlfriend's name is Sandiford. So he's got that. He brought Artest back, but not Ron. He's still Meta.
Good for him.
That makes sense.
Good for him. Yeah, I think the Jets might add another vet and then go into the drafts. And I'll say this. I think they draft someone with their top 4 picks. I think that's pretty certain at this point, unless they're using that pick to trade for a Brian Thomas or whoever.
They have to.
And then I think they make 1 to 2 other additions, either a day 3 pick or a free agent signing, or both a free agent signing and a day 3 pick. I think you're looking at Garrett Wilson, one of your top picks or Brian Thomas or whoever they would trade for, right? With that, as your wide receiver 2, Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver 3, and then wide receiver 4 is either going to be a vet you sign. It's either going to be a day 3 pick competing with Isaiah Williams or whatever. Like, I think that's probably what you're looking at. And if that's your wide receiver room, I'm cool with that, right? You just need to make one other impactful addition. Outside of wide receiver, every other position group I feel pretty comfortable with going into week 1. I would feel all right with every position group on the Jets roster right now, which, considering they have 4 top 44 picks, is good because they will add more talent. Wide receiver is the one room where it's like, okay, they need to add someone else here. Like, they absolutely need to add another impactful player that's going to play significant snaps for them, and that likely comes in the draft.
You want to go talk some draft?
Let's talk about it.
Because Keep It Simple says, I think the top 3 receivers will be gone before pick 16. Is Omar Cooper worth the 16th pick? Let's kind of almost start our mock there, because I feel like it's trending towards Arvell Reese. I mean, like, we could do a David Bailey argument. That might be for a little bit down the road, but it seems right now it's going to be Arvell Reese. So I don't want to take up like podcast time saying Arvell Reese is going to be really good. We both think he's going to be really good.
It's one we've already talked about too. We've talked a lot about the Bailey versus Reese versus even Ruben Bain debates.
I don't think Bain's in the conversation.
I agree. Anymore. I think he's still a good player, but I don't think he's in the conversation too. I think Sonny Styles would be the third name if you want to throw another name in there, but he'd be the third of those.
Inside linebacker at 2 it's basically Caleb Downs at 2. We're just having the same conversation just with Styles.
Styles is going to go ahead of Downs at this point, just because of the combine and just because of, I think there's some stuff out there about Downs' knee that could fall.
I don't think that hurts him that much.
I don't know how valid it is, but I think Styles just being a one-of-one athlete he's going to get drafted ahead of Downs. That'd be my prediction, but probably not a 2.
I recently whipped up a mock draft, and it has Reese at 2. Jordan Tyson is going 16. And here's how it happens. Because I just want to make sure I get it up so I'm not talking out of turn here.
Sure. You sent this to me. I remember looking at it, and I was like, look, I'd sign up for this. If the Jets get any of the top 3 wide receivers at 16, I'm overjoyed. Yeah. I'm super happy.
Mendoza, Reese, David Bailey to the Cardinals. I feel like that's becoming a more popular. I feel like Bailey is. I think Cardinals are going to get whichever one of Reese and Bailey the Jets don't take.
Isn't there some stuff out there about Josh Sweat possibly getting traded? So if they trade Josh Sweat, then absolutely.
Because he signed to play with Jonathan Gannon. So.
Yes, and now Gannon is gone, obviously.
Now he's gone. So Bailey 3, Jeremiah Love 4 to the Titans. That's looking more likely.
Yeah.
Well, there's also Styles to the Giants.
There's 5. Also the scenario, if we want to talk about at some point, not to cut you off, but there's the scenario of, hey, what if a team wants to trade up for Jeremiah Love? What if a team wants to leapfrog the Titans? Because I've seen some talk about that.
Jeremiah Love's really good. Like, Saquon was legitimately a generational running back prospect.
I agree. I agree with you.
That's worth it. Like, I would put him kind of in the Bijan Robinson tier, and he went unbelievable player, Bijan Robinson. He went 8.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you trade up. I don't know if Jeremiah Love is in.
It would be the Giants would be the team to do it because the Giants missed out on Kenneth Walker. It seems like, look, they don't need
trade up for a running back when you only have 2 top 100 picks.
Believe me, Mike, I'm with you. I don't think they should do it, but it seems like Harbaugh wants to make a big running back splash. Even though they got Scatterbo, even though they got Tyron Tracy, who I think are both serviceable running backs who complement each other well, they want a guy in there. And I think they realized that they weren't going to be able to sign Kenneth Walker. And I think Kansas City realized that Jeremiah Love was not going to fall to them, which is why they paid as much as they did for Walker. I don't know. It feels to me like the Giants would consider jumping the Titans, depending on what the cost is.
Before we get back to it, MTO, good job breaking the Michael Walker re-signing, boys.
That's right. Yeah, we did. That was cool. Every 9 or 10 months, I'll get a random little scoop there. Not an insider, but every once in a while we'll break something. It's nice to see the recognition.
So again, stop me when you hear the outrageous pick that makes Jordan Tyson to the Jets at 16 not happen.
Sure.
Sonny Styles to the Giants at 5. Francis Mauigoa to the Browns at 6. I've seen Monroe Freeling. He's still my third tackle.
Yeah, dude. I was going to ask you about the Freeling rise because that's come out of nowhere.
That's too high for me. I still have Mauigoa over him, and I have Spencer Fano over him.
I keep seeing him at 6 to the Browns, and they're like, that's nuts. It's crazy.
I mean, like I have him on my most recent one, 17 to the Lions, so it's not like I'm putting him in the second round here.
Him and Cooper have been probably and Thieneman have been like the biggest risers in this class, I think.
Caleb Downs to the Commanders.
Sure, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, they need defense.
Carnell Tate to the Saints.
Ooh, yeah, absolutely. With Olave's uncertain future.
Then Kansas City. I went back and forth, Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson. I think maybe the injuries, they go Lemon because they've had a lot of injury problems and they might be a little more.
Is Bain still out there?
Bane is still out there. He goes 10 to the Bengals.
I feel like the Chiefs would strongly consider Bane at 9.
They would, but also, Rashee Rice got problems right now.
Yeah, sure.
Who's their receiver too? If Rashee Rice has to miss time?
Some team is going to get a really good player in Ruben Bane and a really good value pick because he's still a really good prospect.
I do like him going to the Bengals because they'll have all production, no traits, which is Bane, and then
the opposite.
No production, all traits, Shamar Stewart.
Bane almost feels like too good of a pick for the Bengals. Like I feel like they don't make picks like that.
Now, Miami at 11. I've seen a lot of people say wide receiver for them, and that we can't get any of the top guys. I've mentioned this to Justin. Kenyon Sadiq had like the best combine ever, and now I'm still not seeing him rise that much. He ran a 4.39.
I know.
As a 245-pound tight end, he's not going to rise.
We had a brief conversation about this via message, and I think it's just the inflation of insane athletes. Like this year, there were so many ridiculous.
He was one of the insane athletes.
He was. I think Sonny Styles got the hype. I think Sonny Styles was the one who received the biggest boost from his combine performance. Sadiq got a little overlooked because of that. Look, man, 2 or 3 months ago on this show, I said that the Jets could consider Kenyon Sadiq, and we did a mock draft, and I had the Jets taking Sadiq with that Colts pick, and people hated me. People were like, "You idiot, you piece of shit, whatever." I got called names.
Oh, yeah, I don't think they said that.
People said I should die, Mike.
They burned me at effigy.
Yeah, I was crucified for it, and I'm like, man, I don't get the pushback.
The poor life of a Jets writer.
And now all of a sudden, people are like, hey, maybe Sadiq at 16. Ahead of the curve with that, because I 100% agree. Although I will say, if Mekhi Lemon's there at 11, the Dolphins should take Lemon over Sadiq.
I think Sadiq, because look at their tight ends right now.
But I know. But Lemons plays a more impactful position, and he's a better prospect, in my opinion.
But also, you could get receivers at pick 30 or in the 40s. Tight end class is really thin.
You could. I'll be interested.
Eli Stowers, and then who knows?
I'll be interested to see how they prioritize tight end, because if we're basing it off of Green Bay, because obviously they got the Green Bay brain trust in there, the Packers have used some decent draft capital on tight ends, and they do like to use their, obviously, Tucker Kraft. They drafted Luke Musgrave in the 2nd round. Like they have used some draft capital there, so we'll be interested to see that. But as far as a Jets comment, if the top 3 receivers are off the board and Kenyon Sadiq is there, I would rather Kenyon Sadiq over Omar Cooper. I'd rather him over Denzel Boston. I'd rather him over any other wide receiver.
Just to wrap it up, Delane to the Mansour Delane to the Cowboys, Spencer Fano to the Rams, Vega Iolani to the Ravens, Keldrick Falk to the Bucks, and then Tyson to the Jet. Now, here's the thing. 2 points on this wide receiver thing, because I think they want to go wide receiver at 16. I think they want to.
Sure.
If Jordan Tyson or Mekhi Lemon is there, you run up the card.
Yeah.
Number 2, I think I'm going to probably have Jordan Tyson graded higher on my big board than Mekhi Lemon, but I think Lemon goes higher because of the injuries. And they're not like serious things. It's you don't want to say they're not serious, but like it's not like
he had one
torn Achilles. It's a lot of bumps and bruises and missed a couple games here or there.
Didn't he tear his ACL earlier?
He did after the torn ACL. Then I think last year was bumps and bruises.
Yeah.
The torn ACL was like early in his college.
It was. He's just missed games every single year with like hamstring issues, and like it's just a lot of stuff like that where it's like, man, it's a tough sell to draft a guy like that. I don't think he goes top 8.
I don't think. Then again, you're also Mr. Bring back AVT in a long-term deal.
Yeah, I'm not saying
so that didn't concern me.
I would take Tyson at 16. I wouldn't at 8, maybe depending on the team. Different situations. Like obviously, every injury situation is different.
Right. Now, also number 3, Carnell Tate's my 1. I don't think I'm going to be talked out of that, but I think tier 1 is Tate, Tyson,
nice, and
Lemon. In whatever order you desire. There's a tier 2 of receiver that's like Denzel Boston, Omar Cooper, probably KC Concepcion. Yeah. And then I think it falls off a little bit when you get into like Jeremy Bernard and Chris Brazzell.
And Elijah Surratt and Chris Bell.
Exactly. Now, if there's one of those tier 3 guys there at 16, I don't think I take one of them at 16. If you can trade down, I know Carolina might want a receiver.
Tier 3 or tier 2?
Tier 2.
Yeah, it's okay.
I think if Carolina wants to move up from 19, if a team in the 20s wants to move up, then I think you do that every day and you take your Boston at 23 or 22 or whatever. You take your Omar Cooper at 22. If Tyson, Lemon, and Tate are all gone, and then the Jets are picking at 16, I think Vega Ioane is going to be gone too, so I don't think you can go interior lineman.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about him too because somebody asked about Vega Ioane, so we'll talk about it in a
I
second.
think if that situation happened, I think my preferred pick would be Dylan Thieneman.
Now,
because I just think that safety. I think they're going to take a safety with one of the top picks because all their safety signings have been outside of Minka have been 1 year or depth guys. Dane Belton, Andre Cisco, Thieneman, who I've been on for a while, I think he just blew up the combine. I think he'd start immediately, and then I think you take your wide receiver probably at 33.
Now, question: would you consider trading up for one of those wide receivers, maybe to 10 or 11? Something like that.
So I probably have to give up one of the seconds.
Let's say 10 so that you're because since he's not taking a receiver, let's say 10, you're trading up from 16 to 10 and you're leapfrogging Miami, who might take a receiver at 11. Scenario is it's tough because they don't have a third. A third would be the right package here, and the Jets don't have a third. Thank you, Joe Douglas. So maybe they give up a third next year, or maybe
would also be perfect for like an interior guard guy right now.
Would be. Maybe they end up packaging a second and then they get a third back, right? Maybe they trade 44 and they get 72 back from Cincinnati, and maybe they also get 110 back. That would be roughly equivalent value. Something like that. Would you consider doing that if you end up moving off of 44, but getting a third and a fourth back to move up from 16 to 10 to get, let's say, Mekhi Lemon? Would you do that?
Here's the thing. Carnell Tate, absolutely.
Okay.
I think stylistically too.
So Tate is definitively your wide receiver one in this class.
Yes, and I think stylistically him and Garrett Wilson complement each other very well. Like we always talked about, they need the big X receiver. I mean, it's Tate and Denzel Boston are those two right now.
Tate's the best stylistic fit for sure.
Agreed. And I know Mekhi Lemon plays bigger than he is, but I don't think he's gonna. I think he'll do some of that in the NFL, not all of his contested catch stuff in the NFL, just size-wise, athlete-wise. He's beating up on inferior athletes in college. So Tate, I think he'd do that if he's there. I would have no problem with that. The least likely guy I'd want to trade up for is Tyson, only because of the medicals.
I agree.
As Austrian Jet fan donates 10 more memberships because he is he is the man.
You are the man, Austrian Jet fan. Thank you so much. Congrats to everyone who just received a membership. And yeah, man, we say it every time. You're funding our trip to Austria. Shout out Austria. Go. We got to learn some words in German.
I basically speak German. Like
you speak German?
I took 4 years of it in high school. I took 2 years in college.
This is wild because those who know, I lived in Germany for 3 years and I learned no German. So
scared to compete now.
Dankeschön. We'll say that.
So
Dankeschön.
Dankeschön. So
whatever.
All right. Wrong. So
all right, you're correcting the dude who lived in Germany. Okay.
Yeah, because you got it wrong. What good did that do you?
I know exit. Do you know what exit is in German?
What's exit in German, Justin?
Do you know what it is?
I want to see if you know what it is.
It's a funny word. That's why I know it. It's Asphalt. That's what it is. I believe is how you pronounce it. Yeah.
Now, anyway, we get away from Asphalt.
28-year-old man.
No, we are very mature. Now,
Gunther will win at WrestleMania. I don't even know whose opponent's going to be. Yo, I got to start a wrestling podcast. Who's his opponent going to be, MTO? Rey Mysterio's hurt. Anyway, all right, let's go.
So, Carnell Tate, you do it. Tyson, I think, is a better player than Lemon, but I wouldn't trade up for a guy with those medicals. I'm really 50-50 on trading up for Lemon. I think I would do it if Lemon's the only one left. If Tate and Tyson are gone and there's just Lemon and he's there at 10, then I think you do it. If Tate and Tyson are there, I don't think you do it because I think there's still a chance that one of them slides a little bit. Or they get to a point where it's trading up to 13 or 14 where the price is a lot less.
Well, looking at those, the Rams at 13 wouldn't take a receiver. They have Devontae.
They keep getting mocked them because they were in on AJ Brown.
If they traded Devontae, yes, but would they really use a top 15 pick on another receiver? I know Devontae's not long term there, but they already have Puka.
Mekhi Lemon, Devontae Puka.
I mean, it's ridiculous. That'd
be pretty good.
Give him the Super Bowl already if that happens.
And then they have Terrence Ferguson, who they picked high last year. He's going to.
Well, I'm mad as a Terrence Ferguson dynasty owner. I'm mad they brought back Tyler Higbee. That's annoying. But Baltimore at 14, that's a threat to possibly take a receiver. I
honestly think Ioane is.
Yeah,
I don't want to say locked in, but it's very likely they would take him.
I don't think they'd go receiver, but they could use one. Tampa at 15, likely not. Although they just lost Evans, so maybe they go receiver. Obviously, they don't. I feel like they wouldn't be the top of their list, but they could. Yeah, it's in consideration. I agree. Brian said yes, 100%. The Rams should be taking a wide receiver early. I don't know.
Early may not. That could. I don't know if that means 13 though.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously Devontae's not there long term, but they got Puka. I know they lost. What's their depth? They lost Tutu Atwell.
I think Jordan Whittington is their wide receiver 3.
Okay, and Kanade Mumfield. Yeah, I mean they could use depth here. Obviously, Xavier Smith's their return guy. I think he kind of muffed some kicks last year too. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I feel like at 13 though, that's very high for them to be investing in a wide receiver.
That could be a trade back. They traded a first for Trent McDuffie. Could be a trade back team.
That could be.
Let's get to some comments.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, really quick, let's talk about Ioane, because somebody said I got Vega going to the Ravens, and somebody also mentioned him earlier, I think. Vega Ioane is an option for the Jets. And I want to use this as a talking point here, too, to just talk about Dylan Parham really quick and that signing, because last week, when we did our show on Tuesday, that was before they signed Parham. And my whole take was that at the time, that was my biggest concern about the current Jets roster and about their approach in free agency. Was the reporting was, they're going to, maybe target another team's backup and someone that they could project as a starter. And it doesn't sound like they're going to invest.
Josh Myers again.
Yeah, another Josh Myers. Well, they didn't do that. Dylan Parham is a starting caliber guard. We didn't get a chance to talk about him on the show, but he's probably maybe my favorite signing that they made. Just because of the contract that they got him. I'm shocked that it was so cheap. It's 2 years, $16 million, no guarantees after year one. That is shockingly team friendly for a guy with 63 career starts who has started 4 years in the NFL. He's never had more than 5 penalties in a season. He had a 74 PFF grade 2 years ago. Took a step back last year because, as you always say, Pete Carroll's doofus sons, I believe is how you describe them.
Doofus.
Yeah. Right. They were the ones coaching the offensive line, Brennan Carroll or whoever.
And I think Nate was the quarterback coach.
Yeah, so. and the whole offensive line took a step back. But you ask Raiders fans, even like for as bad as that Raiders offensive line was, Raiders fans like Dylan Parham. They thought he was one.
Jackson Powers Johnson took a big step back. Colton Miller's getting
playing out of position too. Jackson Powers Johnson. Yeah. But Parham,
I think they switched them around. I think Parham played on the right side, and Powers was center. And they kicked him to guard and moved Parham to left guard. They mix and matched everybody.
Yeah, 2025. So Parham started at left guard in 2025. He started at right guard in 2024.
That's what it was. They switched.
Like you mentioned, has experience playing center. He has started a game at center in his career. He started multiple games at center in his career and has experience playing both guards. So a guy with guard center versatility who's played both guard spots, who's played center, all three in the NFL, 63 career starts, and has played it at worst an average-ish level to at times above average. Getting a guy like that for the contract that the Jets signed him to is better than I thought they'd do, for a better deal than I thought they'd get. And now it opens up a world of possibilities where they should not feel like they are backed in a corner, that they have to draft an interior offensive lineman with one of those top picks.
The only position they have to draft in the top four is wide receiver.
Which is why I didn't want a second position to be, pigeonholed as well, because they're already doing that at receiver. And I was fine with them doing that at receiver because the receiver class was just so ridiculous in free agency that I get not wanting to spend.
And edge, but they're taking Reese anyway, so.
Well, they doubled up at edge. They got Enikbari, they got Asai. Like, they got bodies in that room now. Guys who I feel confident playing snaps. And like you mentioned, they're going to draft Reese or they're going to draft Bailey or somebody at 2, right? They're going to add another piece to that edge room, like a high upside, high-end piece. But they shouldn't feel backed in a corner to drafting an interior offensive lineman. That said, if Vega Ioane is there at 16 and the top 3 receivers are off the board, he probably becomes one of my favorite picks. And honestly, you draft Vega Ioane, I'd consider kicking Parham in the center. I think Ioane could start.
I would be totally behind getting a guard at 33 and kicking Parham to center.
Could do that too. I think Parham is probably your 5th best offensive lineman if you're doing that. And I think he's someone that should be starting. I think he's certainly better than Josh Myers. And the deal they gave Myers does not necessarily lock him into a starting job. If their whole goal, and they said this a lot, this was the verbiage they used a lot last summer, was we want our best 5 on the field. We want our best 5 out there. Well, if you want that, I don't think, there's a good chance Josh Myers might not be one of those best 5. And
left to right of Fashanu, Ioane, Parham, Tippmann, Membu.
Hell yeah, dude. That's a really good offense.
That's really good.
Plus, you get Myers as depth, who you like. They brought back Xavier Newman and Chukwuma Okorafor.
Parham will be the most expensive of that group.
Yeah, they brought. Yeah, he is. They brought back which is crazy that he'd be the most expensive of that group. By the way, would Membu technically be making more or no?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think so, but it'd be close. I think. Which is crazy if we're talking about a guy on a rookie contract.
No, Membu is $8 million a year AAV.
That's roughly what Parham is.
Parham's 10. So yeah, Parham is the most expensive.
Parham's 2 years, 16 million.
Oh, I thought it was. Oh, it can go up to 10.
Up to 20.
Up to
Yeah, up to 20. So that your most expensive player could be a rookie lineman, like an offensive lineman on a rookie contract, for an offensive line that we look at as could be one of the better units in the NFL. So I love the Parham signing, but I certainly think they could still consider Ioane. And if those top receivers are off the board, might become one of my preferred targets at 16. I think Kenyon Sneak is absolutely in that conversation too. And the closer we get to the draft, the more I will probably be on the Kenyon Sadiq train if the top 3 receivers are gone. I think the value is better if you take him at 16 over an Omar Cooper or whoever, a Denzel Boston. You could play Sadiq as an inline tight end. You could play him in the slot as a big slot. You could play Mason Taylor as a big slot. Like, this isn't an anti-Mason Taylor thing because you use both of them. You absolutely use both of them. It's another receiving target for your offense, as well as a guy who's an awesome blocker. Already a better blocker than Mason Taylor, who I thought kind of overachieved as a blocker last year. That was not his thing coming out of college, but
he definitely got better at it than he was.
Yeah, I thought he was fine which
is what you want to see. So
and it's trending up in that regard. So you keep Mason Taylor and you use him too. I'd be very happy with Kenyon Sadiq at 16.
But you wouldn't take Ioane if Lemon was there at 16. You'd take
no. The need is a lot bigger at receiver, and I like Lemon better as a prospect.
What about Tyson?
I'd take Tyson too. The need is bigger.
I'm trying to figure out what's your
it's the top.
I'm making like a 16 big board. It's Lemon, Tyson, Ioane in that order.
Yeah, I'll include Tate just in case he's there. I would say for me, I still like Lemon over Tate. Lemon is my wide receiver 1 in this class. Tate's a better fit. I just love Lemon as a prospect.
Ioane or Sadiq at 16 if they're both there.
Probably after the Parham signing, I probably lean Sadiq. I think Sadiq's a bigger need for them. Not like tight end, but like pass catcher. They need another pass catcher.
Guy who does stuff on offense.
Yeah, guy who, yes, another skill player on offense. I don't feel like they need to. I'm not stressing about interior offensive line right now. I would like to address it at some point. I don't feel like I need to address it at 16 if there's a guy that I like, in Sadiq there. That's probably where but I would not be upset if they took Ioane at 16 at all.
Now, assuming they go edge it too, I'll be happy with this draft unless they need to get some combination of, in my opinion, with these picks. I don't care what order you do them in. Wide receiver, interior offensive line, and safety. I think those are the 3. You can mix and match the order. Get the safety at 16, like Thieneman, get the guard at 44 and the receiver at 33, or swap them over, get the receiver at 44 and the guard at 33. Like, as long as they get those positions, this draft is not very, I don't want to say not top heavy because there's not like a lot of blue chip guys, but like picks number like 3 to 12, there's like not a lot of separation. In a good way, though.
It does fall off a little bit after that. Like, unfortunately, I feel like 16 is past the cutoff point.
Well, the thing, though, too, is because I saw a comment saying I would rather get Emmanuel Pregnon at 33. # pregnant for Pregnon.
Oh, my God, dude. I like that. Wait, really quick. J-Mark said, why is the schedule different? Thought it started now. Daylight savings, my friend. Check your clocks because we start at 3 p.m. Eastern time every Wednesday.
Don't most things in this wonderful modern age update automatically? Most electronic things.
J-Mark, I know one of our coworkers, Mike, Freddie, is in the UK. So we had to like change our meeting times around because because the UK has a different. This is when I lived in Germany, they have different daylight savings times, where it just happens like a couple weeks later. So could have been something with that, J-Mark, but we were on time.
MTO, I think cornerback's a bigger need. Too much ran AZ, Thomas, and Stevens, and they have Brownlee too. That's those 4 in a cornerback room.
You could so cornerback being a bigger need than interior offensive line. I think that depends on what they plan with Minkah. Like we still don't really have a full clear picture on their plans for Minkah Fitzpatrick and where they.
He thinks he's going to be this big nickel.
I think he's going to be used a lot, like as a hybrid guy. But is he going to be more of a nickel or with some free safety, or is he going to be more of a free safety with some nickel? I don't know. I'm not sure the Jets fully know yet. I think they're going to kind of crystallize those plans, maybe depending on what they do in the draft. I think they know they have a chess piece in Minkah and they can use him in multiple places. But if they draft because then that also relates to the need. He was just
so good at that spot last year, though.
He was. That also relates to the need at safety, right? Safety is a lot less of a need if they plan to play Minkah almost full time as a safety, right? If that's the plan, then you don't really even need a safety. You got Minkah Fitzpatrick, Andre Cisco, Malachi Moore, Dane Belton. That's fine. If those are your 4 safeties, then that's fine. The issue is if they're planning to use Minkah as more of a nickel, well, now Andre Cisco is your starting free safety. We don't want that. And I think the contract they gave him indicates that they don't want that either. So it's what I will say, we could say defensive back is another need, right? Whether that's safety or whether that's corner, depending on how they plan to use Minkah, depending on what the board looks like and who's available, we can kind of just classify it as defensive back, I think.
The thing, though, is if they take a cornerback, I think it'd have to be a slot guy. I think with Brandon Stevens, Azareye'h Thomas, and Deshaun Wright as your outside cornerbacks, I think I don't want to say you're set there, but like Jarvis Brownlee, as much as we like him, that's your slot guy. Like they don't have really a backup. Maybe put Minkah there full time, but then you do some safety stuff. Like outside cornerback, they don't have like a star there, but they've addressed that, I think, fairly well and fairly economically.
I tend to agree. I also think the Jets are just in a situation where they can go BPA in some situations. And if they run into another Azareye'h Thomas scenario where, like, say Mansour Delane's there at 16, all the top 3 receivers are off the board, Vega Ioane's off the board, maybe even Sadiq, right? Let's say
then Delane just starts right away and Azareye'h Thomas is a backup, and
and you do that, and then maybe you I don't know, you figure it out. Like I think they consider it, right? Also, again, Aaron Glenn, former cornerback himself. There's still other, Chris Harris is still on the staff. There's former DBs in the staff. Like
I forgot they kept him.
They did keep him. I mean, he was bad as an interim defensive coordinator coaching me and you at cornerback.
Better than Steve Wilkes, I'll say that. MTO, do you take Jermon McCoy at 16? I would not.
The injuries is just the medicals there. It's just tough. He
didn't even work out the combine.
Correct me if I'm wrong. He didn't play at all last year, right?
No.
Yeah, he missed all of last season.
And look, I'm not to make light of a torn ACL, but like guys come back from that now in 5-6 months, and he's like, I'm still not ready. I'm like, that happened over a year ago, man.
That's concerning. I think he probably falls to day 2.
I don't think he does, but
I think he's someone that we're going to expect to go day 1 who ends up going day 2 because the medicals are just like.
Think about the talent you have to have that sort of injury concern and still be cornerback 1 or in discussions for it.
He was cornerback 1 in the class, like going into the year, like definitive. And then obviously just never ended up playing.
I think they knew that too. He wasn't going to play, and he still was.
Well, I feel like there was some optimism he was going to come back at some point. No,
I think it was like if they were in some sort of race that mattered, he might have tried to tough it out, but
right.
Keep it simple. Kuiper has us taking Simpson at 16. Don't you agree? So Tyson,
he said I don't agree.
Oh, I don't agree. Who would you have us taking for QB3? Well, I think they consider Simpson. I don't think Ty Simpson's going to be there at 33.
I agree.
If they take him at 16.
David in chat said, would you take Simpson at top of round 2? Yeah. If Simpson's there at 33, I feel much better about that than taking him at 16. Right now, I would predict that he's not.
We don't know. Need a quarterback. Browns need a quarterback.
Yeah, we never know, obviously. There's always random draft slides that happen. I mean, no one thought Malik Willis would fall to the 3rd round. No one thought Shedeur Sanders would fall to the 5th round. So you never know.
Looking back on it, that was crazy.
But I would be surprised if Simpson didn't go round 1 right now. Well, again, a lot can change. But as far as
I know we want to wait till next year because next year's class is better. But number 1, this year's class was supposed to be better, and then all the guys you thought would be better either regressed or went back to school. So it was infinitely worse, actually, than last year, that last year's looking pretty good for a quarterback class with Cam Ward and Tyler Shuck and Jackson Dart. And number 2, like if Darren Muji really believes that like Ty Simpson is a guy who can be the guy, which you think if you take him at 16, you think that. Like, who are we as Jets fans supposed to say, no, don't look for your franchise quarterback because there's a chance that next year may have
that's always how it goes. If you have a strong conviction, and you meaning like the organization, the Jets an organization, people making the decisions there, Darren Muji, whoever, if they feel strongly that Ty Simpson is a franchise quarterback, that they believe he can be a 8 to 10 year starter with them, if not more, then you take him, right? But it's also a situation whereas if you believe that, you're probably not sitting there at 16 and hoping he falls to you. You're probably moving up for him, or you're considering him at 2. I'm not saying they should do that or they will do that. Well, but if you have that,
think that about Dart, they got him in the 20s.
I mean, they moved up for him though. They did trade up for him. They did. They didn't like wait for him to fall to them. They did.
Right, but I'm saying they did it with if the fact they took him in the 20s and not at like 3 because they took Abdul Carter. Like, they still probably believe Jackson Dart's going to be their quarterback for years and years and years.
I'm not saying that the Jets should take Ty Simpson or would take Ty Simpson at 2, but I'm saying that, like, they would, like, they would, if they feel strongly enough about him, taking him at 16 or trading up to him to draft him, then they would feel good enough taking him at 2. Not that they will, because obviously draft value matters. And obviously, I'm assuming they don't think anybody in the top 8 picks is taking Ty Simpson. So they wouldn't feel the need to do it. But maybe there's a scenario where they would trade up for him. If I'm betting right now, I don't think they take Ty Simpson. I don't think they draft the quarterback in the first round. I think you're looking at day 2 or day 3 is when they draft one. And to answer that part of the question, who do you think they take at QB3? Whoever they like the most. I don't know who they're going to end up liking. Obviously, Drew Aller's a name that's been thrown out a lot. I would like Drew Aller as an option as a developmental day 3 swing. Taylon Green, obviously, is another guy that's been.
Aller's the best of the day 3 developmental.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't want Carson Beck. I don't want who are some other names like Diego Pavia, right? I don't want someone like that. I think
will get picked. I think though
Beck will get picked, but I just don't see upside with him. Like I want to draft the guy who at least I think there's physical upside with him.
I'm only concerned now because I just need to know where the shoulder's at, because it looked like last year he was playing through something because the velo wasn't the same.
Was it his elbow, or I think it was his elbow?
I think it was elbow something. I think he needs like Tommy John or something.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was a UCL problem. I think he had a UCL issue.
Which in football is not as big of a deal in baseball because the arm motion is not as strenuous.
Josh Allen had that a few years ago.
Josh Allen had that, yep.
Yeah, when Bryce Huff, wasn't that Bryce Huff who did that to him?
Yeah.
Yeah. But even outside of the elbow thing with Beck, like I don't think the physical traits are great, even if he has, even if he regains the arm strength, the arm talent he had, he still folds under pressure. Like in like, I'm not talking about like stakes. I'm talking about pressure in his face against the blitz. He is really bad.
So many.
No, but he's
young
like
quarterbacks do that.
He's debilitatingly bad. Like I pulled up the numbers when we were talking about him a while back. Let's see if I can find them again. Like it was.
Keep it simple. Aller cost Franklin his job. Some may argue the other way, that Franklin cost Aller a bunch of money. Drew Aller would have been picked in the top 50 if he came out in 2025. He would have. He would have been the Saints quarterback right now.
Under pressure,
he blew up his leg and lost a ton of money. That was a horrible decision.
Under pressure, Beck has a 43 PFF grade, 5 big time throws, 6 turnover worthy plays, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
There was one game I remember against Louisville where he just melted down. I think that might be.
I think he's going to be a backup quarterback in the NFL level. I think he'll be a backup, but I don't see any starting upside with him.
Keep it simple. Chris Sims was talking about Baron Morton as his QB3. Are you nuts? Are you crazy?
Wait, QB3 in the entire class?
Yeah, apparently. That's how I read that.
Texas Tech guy, right? I don't.
Yeah, he's not going to get drafted.
I know very little. But yeah, there it is. Sims QB draft rankings. Baron Morton.
Are you crazy?
That's Chris Sims for you, man. That's what he always has absurd.
I'm stunned by that.
So let's look at his what's his top 5 rankings. Let's see what he's got. He's got Mendoza 1, Simpson. Oh my goodness. So Mendoza 1, Simpson 2.
All right, I'm just gonna do like a blind reaction. Just tell me the names and I'll react to them. Like go one by one.
Baron Morton.
So Mendoza, Simpson. That's fine. All right.
Baron Morton is
Baron Morton, as we know, is psychotic.
You're not QB5 is fine. You're not going to be upset about QB5. QB4 is Joey Aguilar.
What the? That's worse than Morton. I'm finishing up my big board right now. I think they're both in the 300s.
QB5 is Nussmeier, so that's whatever. But like
what QB3, Joey Aguilar.
Joey Aguilar.
All right, I'm going to look at the consensus big board. Like, that site Mock Draft Database, the consensus big board?
Probably in the 200s, if that.
374, 394.
There you go.
Are you nuts, Chris Sims?
Chris Sims always has. Well, what was his last year, right? Chris Sims, 2025. Look, I respect him for being different.
No, I don't. He's doing that to have me yell at him. That's what he wants.
Well, people always. He got like known as his QB wizard because wasn't he ranked Lamar at QB1 or something like that a few years back, and people were like, oh, there it is. Like he knows his stuff.
I think he had Allen really low though, so that cancels it out.
This is his. So last year he had QB1 Cam Ward, QB2 Shador Sanders, QB3 Jackson Dart. I mean, that was pretty normal. QB4 Kyle McCord, QB5 Quinn Ewers.
Okay, well, Kyle McCord got cut in the preseason, and Quinn Ewers was
a 7th round pick. Yeah, it fell off there. I mean, he's had crazier. That was like a fairly mundane ranking for him. What was 2024? I'm actually curious now.
Brian Sternbeck, remember that time Jeremiah ranked Zach Wilson as the best quarterback in the class for attention? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
He was just bored. He was just bored of writing Trevor Lawrence as number one quarterback that entire year. So he was like, what if I do this? Which also, by the way, goes to show that, the BYU Pro Day throw, like, Daniel Jeremiah ranked him over Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. We don't know how tongue-in-cheek that was, but he did. Like, that's how he was thought of.
So 2024, his were also relatively normal, kind of, except he was very low on Drake May. Caleb Williams 1, Jaden Daniels 2, Bo Nix 3, Michael Penix 4, JJ McCarthy 5, Drake May 6. And he had May in a tier that said talented project.
Drake May 6, Baron Morton, and Joey Aguilar.
I know he's had some ridiculous ones, though. 2023. Oh, yeah, he had Hendon Hooker QB3 in 2023. That was kind of wild.
Okay, so we know how much attention to pay to that.
He had Hendon Hooker QB. He had Stroud 1, Bryce Young 2, Hendon Hooker 3, Anthony Richardson 4, Dorian Thompson-Robinson 5, Will Levis tied for 5. They were tied for 5th.
DTR might be one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen.
He was so bad, dude. And I wanted him to be good.
I did too.
He's
like, I think he's worse than Brady Cook.
He might have been. And he played more, right? Didn't he get more starts than Cook? Maybe
5 starts.
Cook started
1 touchdown, 10 interceptions.
Yeah. He's one of the worst quarterbacks that we've seen in the NFL level in a very long time. He was terrific.
History.
Yeah.
1 in 10.
Yeah, he was. 2022. Oh, he had Matt Corral as QB1 in 2022.
Oh, remember Matt Corral?
To be fair, terrible quarterback class, but
outside of Purdy. Did he have Purdy in the top 5?
No, but no one did. That would have been a good.
I had him higher than most, I remember. I think I had him like the 5th round.
Oh.
Which is not 7th.
Oh. Did I just was that me who lost or was that you?
Like a second you did, yeah.
Oh, great.
It happened to me earlier in the show.
He had Corral 1, Pickett 2, Malik Willis 3, Sam Howell 4, Desmond Ridder 5.
Yeah, so show you how much attention you should pay to those rankings.
Also, T.Y. Hilton is retiring from the NFL. I didn't know I thought he was already retired.
Was not like I'm looking at this class too, though, for the guards especially, because I really think probably 44 is a real sweet spot for this class.
Sure.
Like if you don't take Ioane.
Well, it's like Pregnone is in that area. Is Jennings
I think will be gone by 44.
Is Dunker going before then, or is he thinking
Dunker's probably closer to 44? Okay. I don't want. It's gonna be like the most weird. Like, mullet guy hanging in the loop. Shut the hell up, man.
I know.
I just stopped myself from saying a bad word. Chase Besantis, I like a lot better actually.
Sure, he's A&M, right?
A&M, yep. Kellen Rutledge, I could see maybe rising.
Is he related to Tate Rutledge?
No, Rutledge, not Ratledge.
Oh, Rutledge. My bad. Your yeah. I don't know if it's me, but your stream is cutting out a lot.
Yeah, that's happened lately. So before the tech overlords decide to end the stream, let's just end it ourselves. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Jet Press Podcast. Justin, before my stream disconnects, feel free to sign us off.
Good to be back, my friend. Good to be back with a normal schedule. Now we're going to record some shorts after this. A little peek behind the curtain because we've been doing a lot of that shorts content.
My headphones because I don't have them.
You should go get them after this.
I should go get it. It's here somewhere.
We the most recent one we had go up yesterday was we did a Jets Immaculate Grid, which I thought was very fun. It was very fun putting that together and editing that up. So if you get a chance, check that out. We should promote our shorts content more. We do a lot of like trivia style mini game fun shorts that go up on YouTube. They go up on TikTok.
With Candace Pedraza too, who is
Candace
a big
Pedraza
feature in that.
Absolutely. So yeah, go check those out. If a Jets Immaculate Grid sounds fun, go take a look at that. It was a lot of fun to put together. But anyway, until next time, thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at @ByMikeWithSean. Follow me on Twitter, Justin Fried. Follow Jet Press on Jet Press. Download Jet Press Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. Also, you can become a member. Thank you again to Brian, who became a member today, and Austrian Jet Fan, who donated 10 memberships. You are both amazing. We say it every time, but thank you so much to everybody who is a member, who tunes into the stream, who just hangs out with us, because it's a fun little niche internet community that we got here that we get to hop on every week and just talk Jets. Yeah, we stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That was Mike Luciano. See you guys next time.
Hope we get this in before the stream crashes.